For 30 years, Darko Desic looked over his shoulder, constantly worried that his life was about to blow up. He was on the run after escaping from prison, surviving in plain sight while living rough. It's a pretty good story, right? Well, wait until you hear how he ended up back behind bars.
Caressing the strings of his classical guitar, he gazes across freedom.
I've done the bad thing, wrong thing. I let my family down, my father, and tarnish their name and my name. And that's a bad thing to do.
Darko Desic, a name that drew international headlines.
Take one.
Take one, exactly.
For the first time, the one-time fugitive has opened up about his life, his mistakes, and his future.
Everybody does sometimes bad thing, but doesn't make him a bad person.
From criminal to prison escapee to folklore legend.
Your actions, on average, through the years, speak who you are.
Why have you decided to speak to me now?
Well, it's a good question. Probably just not to clear the things, but more about maybe to inspire people to some extent that to survive.
Leaving his father and two brothers behind, Darko Desic arrived in Australia from the then Yugoslavia in 1988.
Australia was a land of opportunity. There was not much opportunity there in old Yugoslavia.
But the lure of easy money was too much of a temptation.
And I took the wrong turn, which is what? Make it quick, make it easy. Wrong. I was drying marijuana that I picked up, harvested in the bush. To be exact, it was a 22 kilo. It was a quite bit of quite amount.
Yeah. He was caught red-handed in bushland near Kempsey on the New South Wales north coast.
Slim, dusty country.
When he realised he was surrounded by police, Darko took off.
And I was on a run for a year.
He was in Coffs Harbour when the law caught up with him.
And I was arrested and I was charged with cultivating possession, and I was sentenced to 4 years and 7 months or something like that.
He did time in Grafton Jail, Long Bay and Cessnock Prison. Facing the threat of deportation 13 months into his sentence, he decided he needed to escape.
I got notice to be deported, and I realized that was a war in Yugoslavia.
Darko says it wasn't the war that scared him, but facing his family.
I sort of tried to punish myself for letting down my mother first.
She died when Darko was just 15.
I promised the night before she died that I'm going to be good and I'm going to study.
To avoid deportation, Darko Desic began hatching his plan.
I actually requested to go to a new section of Grafton Jail. They had a workshop that I knew that I could get there, and I noticed they had the bolt cutters.
Back in the day, Grafton Jail was regarded as one of the toughest of prisons.
First, I have to get out of my cell. That part would be quite easy. I took a length of file and some putty. I put a blanket over the bars to damp the noise.
Over the next 2 nights, he filed away at the jail bar, using putty to disguise the cut.
I was now concerned they're going to find out, check randomly. So what I did was I filed to the cut to the bar, and all what I have to do is basically to bend that bar go through the louvers and a mesh.
Finally, the day arrived.
It was a Sunday. I wanted to escape on my birthday, on my 35th birthday. That was my, I don't know, he set a date.
Yeah. It was after midnight, raining and freezing cold.
I bent the bar, went through it, jumped from the first floor, it was alone, went to the fence.
Darko made his way to the workshop where he grabbed the bolt cutters and headed for the perimeter fence.
Got bolt cutters, cut through. I made a inverted U shape.
Yep.
So just enough for me to go through. And I remember stepping through it and pulling it back together. So you would not even notice that was cut. I ran about probably 15, 20 kilometers.
Wow.
It was a rainy night, and I knew that I had to spend some time in the bush, because I know first 24 hours or 48 hours is very crucial.
Wet and cold, he managed to start a small fire with a box of matches he'd taken with him and had wrapped in plastic.
And I stayed in a bush 3 days. I was getting desperate to get out. I was cold, I was hungry.
Before his arrest, Darko had buried $70,000 in cash in the sand at Coffs Harbour, proceeds of his cannabis sales.
So my idea was, Grafton to Coffs Harbour is 90 kilometers. If I can make to Coffs Harbour without being caught, I get to that stash.
But the money wasn't there.
I could not find it.
Really?
I could not find it.
The cash had been stolen. He suspects someone may have seen him bury it.
So I was broke.
Yeah.
I didn't have nowhere to turn.
Desperate, he reached out to a fellow prison inmate's wife who took him in.
After 4 or 5 days, I had the first hot meal and warm bed to stay in.
The woman gave Darko $100 and he bought a train ticket to Sydney.
It was the 6th of August. It was exactly on my birthday.
It was the start of Darko Desic's new life, hiding in plain sight for 30 years.
And there is so much more to Darko's incredible story. Tomorrow night, part 2, including the moment he knew his time on the run was up.